Hi everybody and welcome to my October wrap-up. Some of these books I will only mention briefly because they were part of my participation in Dewey's 24-hour readathon, and so I'll link in the description below to my wrap-up of that for more in-depth or as in-depth as I get reviews. But yeah, so I actually had a pretty good reading month, and as it turned out, a lot of it was electronic, so I won't have very many things to show you because I don't have the editing skills to actually put a little degree. I might try and show you some of the covers on my iPad, but that might not work very well, so we'll see. But I started the month with a couple of pieces of short fiction by Tansy Rayner Roberts. She's been writing a lot of short fiction and self-publishing it this year, both through her Patreon and through her podcast, where she serializes short fiction, which is called Sheep Might Fly. And she's turned some of that short fiction into ebooks, which, as I'm a Patreon subscriber, I have access to. And a lot of them are actually also available on like Amazon and stuff, so you can find it if you want to, and they're really good. So the first one that I read was called Ray Guns for Ladies, and this was a little short story that I believe was a Patreon subscriber only. I'm not sure if it's actually available. But it was a science fiction piece that is set on I think it's on a space station, and it's a group of women who run a boutique where they do designer ray guns with different patterns and things, so for ladies. And so it's a little story about convincing some people to try their ray guns and matching manicures and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's fun and it's got sparkles. So, you know, I really enjoyed that. And the second one that I read was The Glass Slipper Scandal by Tansy Rayner Roberts, which actually I first consumed earlier in the year on Sheep Might Fly, but I only included it on here for some reason once I actually had the ebook. I wasn't sure if the stories would be showing up until they had the ebook versions on Goodreads. So yeah, Glass Slipper Scandal is the first of her Castle Charming universe stories, and so it's basically a story that is about the press in the Kingdom of Charming, where you know, they have it's after the story of, you know, Cinderella, but the Queen has since gone into a enchanted sleep. Everyone's hearts are broken, the king doesn't pay any attention, and the princess is in seclusion, and the two princes are, you know, press trash, basically, drunken debauchery, scandals. And so part of the story is from the perspective of a new member of the press who's just starting on his first day. Part of the story is the perspective of the guards that try and guard these princes, and also this perspective of a visiting princess, because it is the new social season, and so all the princesses who are on the hunt for marriage from other kingdoms have come to Castle Charming, and scandal and shenanigans ensue. It's brilliant. I love it, and there's about soon to be another Castle Charming story, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So that is The Glass Slipper Scandal by Tansy Rayner Roberts. Check it out. It's really awesome. So the next thing, let me see. Sorry, my iPad's gone funny. Next thing I read, then we reach the stuff that I read for the Dewey's 24-hour readathon. So again, link below to the full reviews. We have Poison and Protect, which is Gail Carriger's novella, the first of her Delightfully Deadly novellas, which follows Pratchett from the Finishing School series as an adult, and it's a bit of a romance. Then I finished Letters to Tiptree, which was non-fiction and was published last year to celebrate Alice Sheldon's 100th birthday, and is a whole bunch of people in SFF writing fan letters to Tiptree, as well as some republished letters between Tiptree and Ursula Le Guin and Joanna Russ, and also some other sort of more academic works on that, you know, covers Tiptree. So I really loved this. I love this so much. Go check it out. Letters to Tiptree, edited by Alexandra and Alisa Krasnostein from 12th Planet Press. And after that, there was Doctor Who 4 Doctors comic by Paul Cornell, which It was okay. It was Doctor Who, so I kind of liked it because of that, but I actually found the plot kind of confusing. Again, review in the other video linked below. And then on my Paul Cornell theme, there was Who Killed Sherlock Holmes, which is the third of the Shadow Police novels. And again, brilliant. I loved it. Urban fantasy, police procedural, and finally got some answers as to what is going on and what has gone on in the past. So I definitely recommend the Paul Cornell Shadow Police series. And then there was the other comic that I read for the readathon, which is volume 1 of the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, written by Ryan North and drawn by Erica Henderson. Yeah, silly and hilarious and just a bit of fun, and I loved it. Check it out. And then the next thing I actually finished was, oh, sorry, I've just kicked my stand. This is going to be a really bad video. Sorry. The Mistress of Longbourn by Jann Rowland. Jann Rowland is an author who writes various Pride and Prejudice variations. So he takes the characters from Pride and Prejudice and puts them in various situations that they never would have got into any other way. In this particular one, he tends to write 2 or 3 a year. I haven't read all of them, but I've read most of them. This is a new one, and in The Mistress of Longbourn, Elizabeth is in the situation where the entail on their family home was broken by her father and grandfather, and then pretty much the rest of the family, except for Kitty, all died of an an epidemic that went through Meryton. And so Elizabeth has inherited Longbourn, she owns it, she's the mistress, and cue the rest of our Pride and Prejudice characters appearing, but appearing with Elizabeth in a different situation than she was in the actual book. I like these books. They're, you know, a bit of fluff. They're my trashy romance reads, really. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Then I finished off Uncanny Magazine issue 10. I'd read the first 4 short stories in the readathon, so they're described in the other video. I'm sorry, I'm umming and ahhing all the day today. I've had a really weird week. So there was one more, I think there was a reprint that I then had to read, which I think is a Cameron Hurley story, and it didn't really make a huge impression on me. And then there was all the non-fiction and the poetry. In particular, there were 2 essays about The Labyrinth to celebrate the 30th anniversary of The Labyrinth as the movie, which I love. So I really enjoyed reading those. And, you know, Uncanny Magazine, always excellent work. And then the final thing I finished for October was my reread of Wyrd Sisters by Terry Pratchett via audiobook, narrated by Tony Robinson, whose voice I grew up adoring. And so yeah, that was fun. I seem to be on a bit of an audiobook kick at the moment, actually. And so Wyrd Sisters, it's the story of the 3 witches, and it's basically a retelling of Hamlet. You know, king is killed, a relative takes over, the son goes, an heir goes missing. Well, you know, witches interfere, even though they're not supposed to interfere. They're not supposed to meddle, but it happens anyway. And it's hilarious, like most Discworld stuff is. So that was what I read in October. So that was, if I'm counting correctly, I think 10 things? Something like that. 9 or 10 things. So it was a pretty good reading month for me. A lot of it electronic, which is a really interesting change. But yeah, so next week should be my haul from October, and we'll see how we go in November. I'm hoping to read a little bit more non-fiction. Mostly, I don't know if I'll get much finished, but I've got a lot of non-fiction on my currently reading list that is half finished, so if at least I can make some progress, that'd be really good. But yeah, if you've read anything that I mentioned, let me know what you thought about it. And I hope you all had a really good October in terms of reading. Bye.